Howdy folks, today I figured I would give this a review. I've had this for a couple months now. This is the Craftsman Restorer, and it was kind of a on a whim purchase because I thought, yeah, I don't know, it was like 95 bucks. I don't have something that does like this, does what it does, so I figured, what the heck, we'll give it a try. And I figured I would also sample many of the different attachments that come with it, and I've got a very, very old, very nice, if you want to count the rings, old growth barn beam here. That's a true 10 by 10 that I'm going to be using in a project. And I thought, hey, what I want to do is there's a lot of really good character here in the saw marks, some nail marks, a couple other features here that I don't really want to lose. And experimenting a little bit, this is one of my test pieces, and experimenting a little bit with sandpaper, 150 grit even, you really start to lose a lot of the details. So I figured this would be the good thing for the job, so I would review this, and at the same time we can also view the effects of sandpaper, which I think this is comes with it. I think they said it's 80 grit, so this one's the one that comes with it. This is a paint remover, and so we're going to test that and see how that does on reclaimed, I want to say it's fir or some sort of pine. It's fairly heavy and fairly dense, but it is also kind of light. It's hard to tell, but if you've ever held fir or pine in your hands, it's very similar. So I think that's what we're working with today. It's definitely not oak, that's for sure. This is a wire wheel brush that I'll be testing as well. I've tried using it in the past. I just can already tell you right now, the wire wheel is sometimes a tad too aggressive. And then what I got was this. This is a nylon brush. They said is equivalent of 120 grit, I suppose. So we're going to try those on this piece here. We'll do a little patch and then kind of see how she goes. So let's start with this guy. Now, I am not AVE, so I am not able to tear this down and tell you what's exactly inside it, but there is a plastic shell exterior. There obviously is the motor up here, got your hand grip here, and then she runs probably a belt, I would assume, from here, from the motor itself down to the shaft itself. Putting a roller in there is pretty simple. There's just two of these little clips that come out, and then you got to find whatever it is you want to do. Grab this guy. There's two ends to it on some of these. So for example, on this one there's a keyed end and then a open, just a circular end, and what you've got is a bunch of teeth on this end, and then a keyed one longer key just to make sure it gets all aligned properly. So this is the Craftsman brand. I don't believe this one is. I think you can tell the Craftsman brand because they have the keyed on both sides and keyed all the way through, where your aftermarket, the Restorer brands have keyed on one side and non-keyed on the other. So I can tell you from experience using this that this is fairly vibrating in the hand, for a inexpensive tool. This is not a Merca, this is not a Festool, this is not Hilti, this is Craftsman, and sometimes it is what it is. But for the most part, it's fine for what it does. You grab both hands, and you don't want to be too aggressive. I will say the motor is not super strong, so if you start digging into whatever you're trying to dig into, it will stop. It'll just lock. And there's 6 official settings. This one, I just leave it on max because why not? I don't know if you can read that, but that does say max. And then you've got 5, 4, all the way down to a 1. But, max is just kind of where I keep it. There is a definite positive feel here in the switch. Let me just unplug that to show you the chunky. So it is not a potentiometer. It's either on the speed you set it or it's turned off. There's no, you can't regulate speed with the trigger, on or off, but there is a definite feel to it. So you do have a locking switch that locks it in place. And then in the back you have a dust port, which I'm not sure is compatible with my Mirka over here, so I'll give it a shot later. But that is the general breakdown of the Craftsman tool. It's not super loud, but it is a little bit vibrating in the hand, so I suppose, you know, out of 10, I give it a 7. It's fine. It does exactly what you need it to do. It's a little low on power, but, you know, it's kind of one of those finesse tools where, you know, if you can kind of work it a little bit and not have to dig into whatever you're working on, you'll be just fine. So this is a, you know, it's not the big job. It's only the, you know, the kind of short 4-inch wheels. So, you know, it is what it is. You kind of get what you pay for, but is it competent? Sure. Is it gonna, you know, blow you away and blow your hair back? Nah. It's otherwise though, it's competent. It does the job. So let's get into evaluating some of these wheels. I know some of you are going to lose it when I do this, but especially to 100. I don't know. I started counting the rings one day, and I lost count at about 90 or so, and you know, it wasn't even the full size of the tree because clearly it was a square, cut square, and most trees, at least as far as I'm concerned, don't grow square. So you're going to hate me doing this, but in the name of science, all things are allowed. So I know some of you are probably going to scream at me for doing this, but again, science, that's important. So as soon as it wants to get on there, what we're looking at is trying to find the key, this longer key, because that's the special one we need to pay attention. Haha, success. Cap goes on. The shaft itself, small, there's a little roller bearing here. Make sure those get lined up. You've got some alignment pins, so it's pretty hard to screw up, but you know, the average idiot, am I right? So, all right, just got to make sure. Am not. He's got to be smarter than that average idiot. Get on there. There she goes. There she be. All right, let's fire this up. You're on tick. Just a few seconds, and we've already started to lose some of the detail. So, with that said, I'm going to save the best for last, which I think is the nylon guy, but let's find out. So let's jump ahead to the paint remover. This is like a, I don't know, charcoal wheel or something. So this is designed actually to remove paint. So I don't have high hopes for our reclaimed wood. Here we go. Real quick, something that tripped me up that I just noticed is on some of these there is an arrow on these, and some of them are not. You just got to match up the arrow, like meow, and then she goes on a lot easier. Hey kids, learn from me. If I am nothing else, I am an example of stupidity and doing the wrong thing, so I can pass on the right thing. Alright, so actually the paint remover leaves a pretty okay finish, I'll be honest. We did lose some detail, but not a ton. Not like the sandpaper, which I mean was to be expected, but not too bad. So I mean, as far as the finish goes, the sandpaper pretty rough because it's 80 grit. The paint remover, you know, not half bad. Let's move on to the more aggressive steel brush wheel. Steel brush is on. My prediction is it's going to be a little too aggressive. While it did leave some of the color, what we've lost though is, I'm not sure if you can see this, it started getting into the actual wood grain itself, into the individual pieces, and started making these grooves. I don't know if you can see what happened, and we did lose some detail in our saw marks here, and that's unfortunate. So the steel wheel actually might be good for removing other things, but you know, years of kind of dirt and grime, I don't know, I don't like it. It leaves kind of these grooves that I'm really not happy with, and it gets inside there, and it just, the finish is very, very rough to the hand, and I'm not sure you'd want this inside or to sit on it or anything. Again, I'm actually a little surprised by the paint remover. That one's been pretty decent so far. I'm actually a little surprised. So let's jump into what I think is going to be the best one. Should be the Nylon Brush, which they said is equivalent to 120 grit sandpaper, but a lot softer. Okay? All right. Nylon Brush is on. Here we go. Alright, so Nylon Brush did take away some of the character, gotta admit. Paint remover leaves a better finish. The Nylon Brush leaves a fairly rough finish. It's something you'd have to kind of go back with and hit with some sandpaper. The the wire wheel, excuse me, is by far the worst. The sandpaper is the most destructive. That is absolutely, it removes everything. That's the sad part. The paint remover, actually fairly surprised. Again, not a fan of that wire wheel. Didn't do a great job. And the Nylon Brush, I think, adequate. I'm actually a little surprised by the paint remover wheel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this with a 150 grit because again this experiment is for interior pieces that are going to be touched by humans and animals, so it can't be rough to the touch, and I don't want to lose these saw mark details. It looks very cool. So I'll hit this with a 150 and then we'll come back and take a look at what happened. All right, here she be, completely raw wood. Dirt and the grime and all sorts of good jazz has been removed. Again, I didn't really push super hard with the sandpaper, the Mirka sander, just because, again, I wanted to keep as much detail as possible, but, you know, at the same time, make it smooth. So, how does this feel? This is the original. It, yeah, feels like old wood. The Nylon Brush is better. The wire wheel, just not great. I'll be honest. It's lacking severely. The paint remover, actually, it has to be the winner. I think that's the winner as far as the feel and the amount of detail you lose because you're going to a little bit versus the sanding wheel. This guy was I guess the winner as far as finish goes, at least when I rub my hand on it. Wire wheel's the worst. And Nylon Brush, I think, is a close second to this guy. So you will have to use sandpaper to get out some of these dead pieces. So don't be afraid of that. But as far as like the character of it, we definitely want to keep that. So, anywho, hey, verdict competent. I'm actually a little surprised. This was the one that that won out for me. It looks like it's getting a little clogged, but maybe with some use. So if you want to see an updated use video, how long this thing lasts and what it costs, I'll let me know in the down below. So anyway, I always prioritize comments if you made it to the very end of the video. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. So what I'll say is the magic word is brush. Start your comment with the word brush, and I will prioritize your comment or question, and I'll get to you faster than everybody else. That's how I sort my comments. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Good luck to you, and yeah, happy woodworking.